Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we're taking a look up in Vancouver at your Vancouver Canucks. And as we get into prospect training camp, Vasili Podkolzin, the first round pick of the Canucks, is in Vancouver right now. And we're also going to take a look at the latest on Pettersson and Hughes. We really haven't talked about it much here on the channel, so we're going to look at some comparable contracts. Hopefully something gets done. We're going to go over all of that right now. So we're going to start off with the prospect, Vasili Podkolzin, the highly sought-after sniper from Russia. He was supposed to be a top 3 draft pick in the NHL draft. He ended up slipping in that draft down to number 10. Where does this sound familiar in Vancouver? I've heard this story before. I've heard it with Besser. I've heard it with Pettersson. I've seen this before. Are the Canucks going to be able to do this again with Podkolzin? Now, the talk around Podkolzin obviously had his interview the other day, and I was like, he's not 20 years old, is he? He had a very interesting way he was carrying himself. A very deep Russian voice. It was very interesting to hear Vasili Podkolzin talk in Russian because he does not know much English. So we had a translator there with him. But he seems like a very charismatic guy, very, they were asking, are you nervous about anything? He's like, I'm not nervous. That Russian confidence has come over to North America, and I think the Canucks have seen that from him since he was drafted 10th overall back in 2019. And he's coming over to the NHL. You look at what he's done in St. Petersburg in the KHL. It really hasn't been that impressive. He's only spent 3 seasons there. In his first legitimate season, he only played 3 games, didn't pick up a point. His second season, which was his after he was drafted, 30 points in 8 points in 30 games. Tricked you there. 8 points in 30 games, which is okay. That's not bad. But he had 11 points in 35 games this season. So you're just not seeing that super crazy offensive talent in the KHL, and that is a little bit worrisome for some of the folks that are kind of, against the Canucks here. So, again, I'm still excited for him. I mean, you look at what he's done in World Juniors, a very talented guy. You look at his, again, everybody says, the intangibles. He has the intangibles, but let's be honest. What are the intangibles? Is that just something that you say? I remember in the Tom Brady documentary, they said, guys have the intangibles, but that's basically them saying they don't know anything. It's just what it is when you see it. That's kind of what you're seeing with Podkolzin. You're just not seeing it with the points necessarily, and that is why some people are a little bit critical. But you look at what he's done in the under-20 World Juniors, 3 points in 7 games, 5 points in 7 games, 4 points in 7 games. So he's, again, less than a point per game in his own category of age group. But again, there is still some upside there. So we'll get to see him hopefully in the lineup. I think Canucks fans want to see him in the lineup. They were chanting Podkolzin last year. I think they're very excited for what he can do up there in Vancouver. So with that out of the way, that was, one of the more exciting things I guess you could talk about. But now we're going to the nitty-gritty meat and potatoes of the Canucks. As the Canucks have to re-sign, honestly, their 2 most important players this summer, and they have yet to sign contracts. So you have Quinn Hughes, your best defenseman on your team, 21 years old. He's the top pairing defenseman in Vancouver at this point. He was the 2018 7th overall pick of the Canucks. Orlando native. He also played at the University of Michigan. But in his first 3 seasons in Vancouver, legitimately 2, he only played 5 games that first season. But since then, 53 points in 68 games in the bubble last year, the bubble season, and 41 points in 56 games this year. So you're seeing that continual trend of him moving forward in terms of points per game. So I am interested to see what happens for Quinn Hughes. But again, just over 100 games played in the NHL. How much is Jim Benning going to actually give Quinn Hughes? Again, I think the market has definitely changed, especially when you look at the price tag of some defensemen that have been around the league. I mean, you look at the comparables, it's going to be tough. I mean, I'm saying right now for Quinn Hughes, you're probably looking at somewhere between $8 and $9 million on a long-term deal between 6 to 8 years. And you look at some of the contracts we're seeing, comparables. Cal McCarr signed this summer a $9 million AAV for 6 years. Miro Heiskanen also this summer signed an $8.45 million AAV, again earlier in the summer. That was an 8-year deal. Thomas Chabot with the Ottawa Senators signed this deal, I think 2 years ago now. 8/8, so $8 million per year, 8-year deal. Charlie McAvoy and Mikhail Sergachev are on the lower end of that curve by a long shot. $4.9 million AAV for a 3-year deal for McAvoy, and Mikhail Sergachev $4.8 million AAV on, again, another 3-year deal. That was the market at that time. Again, you could see how much the market has jumped since those two signings, because again, McAvoy and Sergachev, they're not bad defensemen. They got paid good, but again, here's the thing. It was a 3-year deal. It was a bridge deal. So you're not seeing many bridge deals after that. It's 8 years. 6 years was the shortest for Cal McCarr. And that still came at $9 million. Again, Darnell Nurse, you look at what he's getting paid. 8 years, $9 million AAV. So there's some big defensive contracts. So it would make sense for Quinn Hughes to kind of follow that pattern on between $8 to $9 million contract per year at between a 6 to 8 year deal. Moving on to the franchise center. That is Elias Pettersson, who is also up for a new contract. The 22-year-old Swede, the next face of the franchise in Vancouver. 2017, 5th overall draft pick. We've seen how good Pettersson is in the NHL in his first 3 seasons. 66 points in his rookie season. Won the Calder Trophy in 2019. Following up Brock Besser, who won it in 2018, or was a runner-up to Barzal in 2018. 66 points in 68 games the following season. So again, better points per game. So he picked up the same amount of points, but in 3 less games in the bubble season in 2020. And 21 points in 26 games this season. So Elias Pettersson, the expectation is this is your guy. But there was some injuries from Pettersson last season. So do the Canucks want to go max term on Elias Pettersson right now? Again, I think they could if they would if they could. Because the problem is, if you're going to give Quinn Hughes the market value contract that everybody's giving out right now, they don't have enough cap space. They don't. So it makes it more interesting in terms of what Jim Benning can actually do. I mean, I think they have between $15 and $16 million in cap space. Oh, no, they have 10.5. Now, again, once Michael Furlan goes on the long-term injured reserve or the LTI, whatever it's called, that's one less guy you can have on the roster. And it's pretty apparent. Their roster size right now, they have 24 players on a max 23-man roster. Probably Michael Furlan is that guy. So Michael Furlan's money would come off the books, which I believe is $3.5 million. So again, you're right around that 14 to 16 million range in terms of cap space they'll have available. So Jim Benning, another thing you have to mention here is Quinn Hughes cannot be offer sheeted, but Elias Pettersson can be offer sheeted. Again, we haven't seen an offer sheet on Elias Pettersson this summer, but I think Jim Benning and the Canucks are kicking themselves a little bit because of one of the comparables that he wanted to make, which was going to be the Kirill Kaprizov contract. He's probably thinking now, he's not a comparable anymore. Shit. Why did Bill Guerin sign him to $9 million AAV? So, what could we see for the franchise center in Vancouver? A $6.5 to $7.5 million AAV on a bridge deal. We saw Matt Barzal get, I think it was $6 million on a 3-year deal. Again, I love Matt Barzal, favorite player on the Islanders, one of my favorite players on the Islanders, but Pettersson's going to get more than that. He's probably going to get somewhere between 6.5 to 7.5 on a similar, maybe 3 or 4 year contract. The thing is here, once you get into a 5-year contract, if they go down that route, that would take him into unrestricted free agency, which means they don't have his negotiation rights. So that is something that the Canucks are probably trying to tweak out a little bit here as well. But like I said, they don't have the money to give $9 million to each of them. They just don't have the cash for that. But comparable contracts, Mitch Marner, you look at his price tag, I think it's 11.5. Austin Matthews is making, I think, 12? Austin Matthews making 12 or 13. Kirill Kaprizov, more of a bridge deal comparable, a 9-year, 5-year, $45 million contract, $9 million AAV. They don't have the money for that. And then Matt Barzal, who is probably the better comparable, but will probably make a little bit more on the higher end of Barzal's deal, which was a 3-year, $18 million contract, $6 million AAV. So that's kind of what we're looking at with the Canucks here. I think they will get things done by training camp. I'm expecting this video to be very short-lived. I'm hoping it lasts no more than a week, and the Canucks can lock those guys up. I mean, you look at this team, they've got a really good team on paper. It's just putting it all together and winning. And I think what Bo Horvat said this summer was, listen, we need to set the culture that the expectation is not a team that we flip cars over in the city when we make it to the playoffs or win a playoff game. They want success in the playoffs, more than just winning a game or a round in the playoffs. They want that success. And again, you remember in 2019, in the quote-unquote bubble season, they went to the Western Conference Final and lost to the Dallas Stars. So you've seen that potential from them. They have lost some key pieces to this team since then. And I saw an interview on a Vancouver radio thing the other day, and they were talking about, the criticism of the Canucks this summer has been, yes, they've added Tucker Pullman. Yes, they've brought back Travis Hamonic. But are they legit top 4 defensemen? I think you're putting guys that are potentially going to get exposed in the top 4 that just aren't top pairing defensemen. That's really what it comes down to. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you think of Vasili Podkolzin? Will he make the opening night roster for your Vancouver Canucks this year? And also, what's going to happen here with Pettersson and Hughes? What do you think we're going to see? Are we going to see a bridge deal for Pettersson? Are we going to see a longer-term contract for Quinn Hughes? Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey and want to see the latest news around the NHL and more videos similar to this one, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. Guys, make sure to check out our Streamlabs shop in the description down below. You can pick up some Goal Line Hockey swag. We've got hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts, backpacks, mugs, anything you could think of. Make sure to check that out. And also, I have another little bit of announcement to make here at the end of today's video. The Goal Line Hockey Podcast. We are going into Season 2 of the Goal Line Hockey Podcast. I don't think I've done one since, I think, December or January. So we are going to be going back into that. So make sure to stay tuned for that as the season gets going. Guys, I will see you again next time. Thank you so much for watching.